It's like we're playing checkers, but there's certain people that are dark that are playing chess in the dark. Hey guys, I'm going to shift gears this week and I'm going to do a mini series on overcoming black magic. So, this is video number one. I'm going to do a quick introduction into what black magic is. Anything I say, always filter it through your own intuition and your own heart space. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Everything I will say is coming from my own life experience, from what I've channeled, from what I've learned and from what I've studied. So, what is black magic? I would like to center this video around, first of all, acknowledging that it exists, because I find that this has been a big theme in my life where I get gaslit a lot on this stuff. So I want to begin by acknowledging its existence, especially if you're going through black magic. It's important to acknowledge what you're going through and what it is in order for you to be able to clear it properly at the root. I've had the experience of a lot of people that they either try to negate its existence or they ignore the issue or avoid the topic in attempts, I think, to protect themselves maybe, or to try and create that for themselves, the lack of its existence. However, that's not how it works. And I can assure you it's real. Unless you are 500 years old and you live in Tibet, and I don't know what you're doing here still, most likely this is a reality in your subconscious mind at some level. Also, it exists at a mass consciousness level in the collective. It's not something that just happens in third world countries or in, little small covens circles, in random Caribbean islands or something. No, it actually is practiced at high levels of what can I say here? It's practiced everywhere at all levels. And they don't want you to know that, because it disempowers the collective to ignore the existence of black magic, because then you can't do anything about it if you don't acknowledge it first. If you just ignore the problem, it doesn't solve it, right? I'm going to make three main points to support my conclusion of the existence of black magic. Although if you're watching this, you probably don't need it. I'm going to do this more for people who might be in a bit of self-doubt about it, about their conclusions on it, or about people who are skeptical even. Anyway, if you are gaslighting yourself around what you're going through, this video will hopefully help you. So, okay. I'm going to talk about first, time as an illusion. Second, the first law of thermodynamics. Third, the subconscious mind, and how this supports the evidence for the existence of black magic. Okay, so first of all, time is an illusion. Albert Einstein said this actually. He said, I'll pull up the quote, but just quickly as an example, like, say, okay, I like to run. So when I do interval training and say I'm sprinting for 30 seconds straight, I'm going to feel out of breath by the end of the 30 seconds. It's gonna eventually, when I keep repeating 30 seconds of sprinting and then 30 seconds of rest, and then I do it again, 30 second sprint, 30-second rest. As I progress through these intervals, I get more and more tired. I build up more lactic acid in my body, and it starts to hurt, and I start to run out of breath, and my heart is pounding. So the 30-second sprint starts to feel longer. Subjectively, my experience of 30 seconds becomes longer. It feels like an eternity. And the 30-second rest starts to feel shorter and shorter. That's an example of how you experience time subjectively. A second example is I've met a being actually from the future, not from this time and not from this planet. And if you ever have the experience of extraterrestrial contact, you'll know that, especially if it's in the physical, in the third density, then you'll know that time is an illusion, because it shouldn't be possible for me to contact a being that's not from the present. Like, and you'll know if you ever have this experience, you'll know they're not from here or now. Well, also, us as light workers, we're from the future. We've come back in time for this time of planetary ascension. We are from the future. That's why we don't make sense. That's why sometimes I talk to people, and if I talk about certain things and in a certain way, they'll just they'll get like, the emoji with the big eyeballs with the rosy cheeks. They'll be like that. They'll be like, "What are you saying?" They'll just, yeah. And and yeah, I also I'll do this thing where if the person really wants to learn, these are my friends and family, by the way, I can fill up their mind with information, just like pouring into an empty cup, and it will start to overflow. And the emoji where the brain is like explosion. That's, yeah, I do that too. So, and you guys have your own abilities too that don't make sense in this here and now. That's because we're not from here and now, literally. And yeah, that's why we don't fit in. The third example of experiencing time as subjective is past life experiences. So some people are actually recovering memories of other lifetimes, past lives. They're actually parallel lives. Also, there can be very obvious and physical residue that's coming from other lifetimes. Like, for example, phobias, a lot of them come from other lifetimes because you don't have a rational explanation for them in this lifetime. For myself, the witch wound, that's not from this life. When I realized I had the witch wound, I was at a shisha bar a few years ago, and I'd met this girl at a spiritualist church, and her and I, we were just having a conversation at a shisha bar, and she pulls out a pendulum and some tarot or oracle cards, and I'm like, "What are you doing? Put that away." And And I was like, wait, why do I care? Because I like, why would I care? I don't like at that point in my life, I never worked with a pendulum. I had played around with some oracle cards, but I never had this experience where I was criticized for my spirituality or for dinking around with a pendulum for sure because I didn't even know what it was. So so yeah, that's from another life because also I was raised Roman Catholic in the Roman Catholic Church, and I never experienced them criticizing witchcraft or anything like that. I mean, I've heard of it, right? But in my personal experience, as I was growing up, I never encountered anything to do with witchcraft, even the criticism of it or the lack thereof, nothing. So when I realized I was self-conscious about practicing spirituality in the open, I was like, where's that coming from? Because I only became aware of the spiritual world. I started to become aware during my first awakening in 2009. And even then, my first introduction into the spiritual world wasn't around witchcraft until I didn't really become aware of black magic and witchcraft until 2019. That's when it slapped me across the face, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, that's real." And so the witch wound for me, it's not from this life. So that's for me, that's an example of past life residue coming from alternate parallel lifetimes. Einstein said, quote, "People like us who believe in physics know that the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion," end quote. So I remember back in the day when I first heard that quote, and I was like, I resonate with that truth here and here, but I don't understand it. I'm like, what do you mean? I still use the clock. I'm still, in a 9 to 5 job. I still have to get up at 7 a.m. or whatever it is. I use an alarm clock. So what do you mean? So what I've come to understand about time and this universe is we live in a multiverse where there are infinite parallel universes, and if you break down time unit into the smallest fraction particle of unit of time, every smallest fraction of unit of time, you're shifting through parallel realities, parallel universes. Bashar talks about this. He says that movement is actually shifting through parallel universes, which is really intense and abstract to wrap your head around. So the more practical explanation of shifting through parallel universes is when you think about every time you make a decision, right? Am I going to have water or am I going to have coffee next? My choice of either of those two puts me into a different parallel universe. The illusion of past, present, and future is only because our subconscious programming is set in such a way that we jump through time, we jump through parallel universes in such a way so as to create a linear timeline that is very similar to everybody else's. Okay, but if you raise your consciousness enough to start to delete and reprogram your subconscious, like delete programs that no longer serve you and reprogram your subconscious mind, then you can start to move through parallel universes in a non-linear way, or in a way that is not like everyone else. And then you would see more so, you'd be able to see that time is an illusion because, for example, anti-aging would be happening. You wouldn't age if you so choose. And you would do some miraculous things. And my point is just to say that those past lives are still going on. They haven't gone anywhere. Sort of like your inner child hasn't gone anywhere. It's still there. It's not like when you graduated from high school or whatever, you turned 18 years old, you blew out your candles. Okay, now you're an adult. No, it doesn't happen like that. What happens is you get traumatized and programmed, and your ego develops, and your ego starts to change and become a certain way, but your inner child is always in there. You can always access it. And it's sort of like that. Your past lives are still happening, same as your future lives are still happening now. In ancient Egypt and other times in our past, black magic was more like overt and dark. So ancient Egypt had a lot of black magic, a lot of power struggles, very dark stuff happening, and they were an advanced civilization. So they were higher consciousness, but however they got really dark. And the fact a lot of us have lifetimes happening in that time, and it because of the times that we're in now, the planet has risen in vibration, and we entered the fourth dimension, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, around 2012 the planet entered the fourth dimension. So I think the planet entered the fourth dimension around 2012, and then obviously people moving through the dimensions is individual, because a lot of people woke up in 2001 during 9/11. That was a big wave of spiritual awakening, but that's an individual thing and also a collective thing. But I'm talking about the planet Earth. She raised in vibration around 2012, and what happens is when you enter the fourth dimension, or the planet is entered the fourth, time becomes more fluid. And what I've noticed is parallel lifetimes start to seep through each other, and like you can start to they can affect your life in this now through the subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind holds all this past life information within it. So your dark magic experience in ancient Egypt could come through into this lifetime here and now, and that's how black magic can happen. And it might not look like anything witchy, it might look normal, but because timelines are seeping in and out like that and coming through our subconscious minds, affecting this here and now, someone just speaking can take on a different tone depending on that person's vibration and what they are connecting to in that here and now. If that makes sense, I hope it does. But also, without talking about past lives, there's also witches and warlocks in this modern day and age, and it's actually very rampant in the you would say leadership, for lack of a better term, around the world. Okay, so my second point is about the first law of thermodynamics. The first law of thermodynamics states that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed. So if someone is sending unintention, that's energy. Um, Good or bad, that's energy. They're putting, especially witchcraft, they're putting their mind, their thoughts, their feeling, their emotions, and they're even doing like physical manifestations of this intention. So like rituals and their kitchen magic. When all of that, right, combined is sent out with a vector towards someone, it keeps going until it reaches them. And then it depends on whether or not they're a vibrational match to receive this into their energy field. It's received, and then it will manifest into their physical reality, unless the person themselves transmutes it or sends it in a different direction. You have to do something with it. Energy doesn't just disappear. And that's the mechanics of black magic. And the mechanics of darker, higher black magic is more quantum. However, the universal law of attraction is still applies. Still applies. Like attracts like. So if you're a vibrational match, you still have to be a vibrational match in order for this stuff to enter your energy field. However, my third point explains more about that, because a lot of people, yeah, I'll get to that in my third point. I just want to talk about everything being energy. Like if you take anything and break it down to its smallest particle, you'll find energy. Everything is energy first. If you want to create a video or a book, the idea is going to be in the energetic form first. Then it descends into the emotional body. You'll feel it. You'll feel the book, you'll feel the idea, you'll feel the video. Finally, it descends into the mental body. You'll start to it'll start to solidify in your mind, in your mental body, and you'll get more details. And finally, it descends into the physical reality through your physical body. You start to write the book or make the video. Everything starts out as energy first. And thoughts are energy. That's why they can be transformed into an EEG, a graph. They can transform it into a physical graph. So thoughts are energy, guys. And okay, this is what I want to say about energy being neither created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed, and why that's important, because people think that negative thoughts coming from someone else don't do anything. But yeah, you can protect yourself or transmute negative energy, but first you have to be aware of it. You can't just shove the problem under the carpet and ignore it. Like if you're not attuned, like if you're not tuned in to your energy field and what's going on, if you're not connected to your subconscious mind, then how do you know? Because energy is invisible, right, to the five senses, physical senses. And that's why people like to ignore it, but it's still very real. For example, a radio transmission coming from 1912, right? If you were to travel out to the end of the solar system, or whatever the math is, wherever these radio waves would be now, if they kept on traveling straight through 1912 to 2025, if you were able to fly out there with a radio, you could hear the broadcast from these radio waves that have traveled all this time from 1912. You'd be hearing it in 2025 if you had the ability to physically go out there and catch them. Because once radio waves are created, they keep going forever unless they come into a barrier or something to turn them into kinetic energy or heat or something else. Same with anybody's thoughts, thought forms, or emotions or intentions. And that's why it's important to become aware of these things. And that's what meditation is for, to make you more aware of what's going on around you energetically in an unseen realm, and to awaken your other non-physical senses in order to better navigate the non-physical world, because it makes up like 98% of this reality. Because the electromagnetic spectrum, right? You know, the electromagnetic spectrum, ultraviolet rays, microwaves, radio waves, however it goes, and then the visible light spectrum, which enters through your physical eyes. It's only like 1% of the electromagnetic spectrum, and the electromagnetic spectrum doesn't even explain all of physical reality, or the unseen physical reality, right? Not everything is infrared rays and ultraviolet rays or visible light. And physics is getting to this point where they're realizing that the field, they call it, is dark matter, and it's everywhere, even in vacuums. And so it's not empty space in outer space, it's actually full and busy. And that's what we would call, in spiritual terms, it's called the ether or the akash. And it's full of information. If you're ignorant to all this stuff, then you can only play in the physical realm. And it's like we're playing checkers, but there's certain people that are dark that are playing chess in the dark, and they gaslight us into believing that chessboard doesn't even exist in the first place. They're like, no, there's no such thing as chess. You keep playing your checkers game because that's all that exists. That's all you can see, so that's all that exists. And we're in the background playing chess in the dark. And they're gonna kick your ass, because the real game is chess. And we're here playing checkers, and we can't even see the chessboard, let alone play. Okay, so I hope that's a good analogy. Okay, my final point is about the subconscious mind. So, like I said, in order for black magic to enter your energy field, you have to be a vibrational match to it at some level. The thing is that most people don't realize that most of us are a vibrational match at some level, because of all these past lives that we've had. There's a lot going on in the subconscious mind that we're not even aware of. And so by saying, I don't believe in this, it's not real, for 5 minutes in a conversation, you're not actually doing anything with the energy. You're just being in denial, because what are you going to do for the rest of the 23 hours and 55 minutes of your day? You're probably just going to forget about it, go to sleep, get up the next morning, go to work, find food, and whatever, watch Netflix or whatever you do. And in the meantime, your subconscious mind, it believes in this stuff. It's like creating this stuff, and you are a vibrational match at some level. And because the energy is invisible to the 5 physical senses, you won't be aware when it enters your energy field and then manifests into your physical reality and starts to ruin your life. So that's, and not yours, but just I'm saying in general. So that's the subconscious mind. It's ruling like 98% of our working lives. So that's why just saying that you don't believe in this stuff doesn't really do anything, because you have to check with your subconscious mind and ask it if it believes in this stuff. And most likely it does, because it's happening everywhere. Once you become aware of it, it's everywhere, all institutions at all levels. So that's it for this video, guys. Yeah, I just wanted to explain more about what black magic is, and that it doesn't always look like a witch with a cauldron or a warlock casting spell work. It can, and it does in this time and age, but not always. Sometimes it looks pretty regular and it's not regular. And sometimes it's just hidden, and things that look regular have some really crazy happenings occurring behind the curtain, the background, in the background. Okay, so like what might look like what might look like what most people do, and just like where most people go, or rituals that everybody participates in, are not harmless. They're actually dark, and they're serving dark beings that know a lot more about all of this than the regular person, and they use their knowledge against the regular person. And yeah, so yeah, that's it for part one. Yeah, I'll see what I'm going to talk about for part two. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it serves you. At least I think, like, when I was first became aware of this stuff happening around me, I really it actually activated like past, like, other aspects of myself, so I was quite sure of what was going on. However, I did get gaslit a lot, because this knowledge is powerful if you apply it for your highest and best good, and the highest and best good of those around you. So I did get gaslit a lot. It didn't work, because I think, because other aspects of myself are very intimately aware of this dark stuff. So yeah, but it is nice to receive validation. So I hope that this video serves as validation for you, so you could stop gaslighting yourself or being gaslit around this topic, and so you can start taking your power back and doing something about your situation. And so yeah, that's it. I hope to see you guys in the second video, and if this video served you, please subscribe to my channel for more. Have a good day, guys.